everyone, we're going to get started in about 4 minutes. While we wait, you want to say hello in the chat box. Let us know where you're joining us from. Hello, everyone. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes. We're saying hello in the chat box right now. Let us know where you're joining us from. We're going to go ahead and get started. Please continue to say hello in the chat box. Let us know where you're joining us from.
Hello, 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 hello. Super happy to be here in this space, virtual space with everyone. My name is Broderick Clark. Welcome. Good afternoon to my East Coast and Central Time Zone folks. Good morning to my West Coast folks. We appreciate you for being here live and direct for day 2 of our summer planning bootcamp. My name is Broderick Clark. I serve as the Vice President of Programs and Systems Quality. And coming off of day 1, just reflecting on yesterday, I'm fired up for today. So I'm really hoping that that we can live up to the expectation for today's session. I'm joined by some amazing folks today. Before I introduce them, I certainly would like to thank a couple of folks. I don't know if we can bring that up there for me so I make sure that I don't miss any one of these great organizations that has made this particular session possible, but the work that we do here at NSLA possible. So we appreciate our partners at the federal level with Engage Every Student and After School Alliance, and our friends at the American Campus Association, National League of Cities. You can see all the sea of logos there. This work would not be possible if it were not for the generous support of our funders. Shout out to Mott, shout out to the Wallace Foundation. Shout out to the U.S. Soccer Foundation as well, as my daughter would like me to make sure I lift up soccer all day, every day. And so once again, thank you to our partners for helping us to make this work possible. We have a bunch of upcoming events, and so you can always check out our website, summerlearning.org, to find out more. But just fairly briefly here, Summer Learning Week is coming up. It's right around the corner, literally and figuratively, actually, from where I'm sitting here in Washington, D.C. So July 10th through the 14th is Summer Learning Week. It's a great opportunity to lift up out of school time summer learning, invite policymakers, decision makers, municipal folks out into the places and spaces where your eyeballs meet with the young people's eyeballs, and you provide these dynamic, incredible summer learning opportunities. So let's lift up Summer Learning Week. We've also have our National Summer Learning Summit. And so if you came to the conference last year, you would recognize it as a conference. This year we are transitioning that to be the National Summer Learning Summit. So that is on October 9th through the 11th, 2023 at the beautiful Mayflower Hotel here in Great Washington, D.C. And I'd also give an open invitation to all of my friends on the line who are committed to their craft, committed to not reinventing the wheel, but leveraging best practices, research, leveraging the brilliance of our colleagues and all the knowledge and expertise that we bring into the space. So I'd encourage you to join one of our professional learning communities. Again, go to summerlearning.org and you'll see all of our PLCs listed. Here they go right here. So, you know, we used to always have our summer folks that are in charge of running summer school and having a new vision for summer school, but we've expanded that to these professional learning communities you see here. So we consider ourselves to be a convener without a doubt, and getting folks an opportunity to break down silos and communicate across sectors. And so if any of these PLCs resonate with you, please feel free to go to our website, find out who's leading these, and you can register and sign up. You can also reach out to Natalie there as well, who will get you where you need to go with respect to PLCs. Great, next slide, please. We also are poised and ready. I know a lot of folks on the line, as I was looking through the chat, may have experienced professional development that we provide as an organization. And so we certainly have a lot of knowledge and experience and expertise with respect to positive youth development in general, but also program planning. You know, we say here at NSLA, summer starts in September, just a mantra to get us planning early and often. But how do we manage our programs? How do we ensure that positive youth development is evident throughout our programs and services that we provide? And again, I mentioned our summer starts in September planning guide. So it's not just myself. I'm happy to come out and do trainings anytime, anywhere, but I also have a team of really gifted field consultants who are just superstars in their own right with respect to positive youth development, summer learning, and continuous quality improvement at scale. So please leverage us, reach out to us. Consultation doesn't cost anything. Next slide, please. I can't tell you how many times I talk to parents and families who in the middle of the summer say, I did not know that program was right there. I didn't know that program was right across the street. I didn't know it was right down the block. And so to sort of address that, we want to make sure that families are aware that summer learning is important. Register your child for a summer learning opportunity early and often. And we have a database in our summerlearning.org website, which is we're aspiring to over 50,000 programs in that. So you just simply a search engine, you just type in your information and it'll pop up programs that are within your vicinity, as well as other tidbits and information and knowledge that parents can leverage, you know, as they continue to provide great spaces for their kids. So discoversummer.org if you haven't had a chance to do that. please do. And I'm super excited about our summit without question. You see this incredible lineup here of plenary speakers. I can't even believe I'm saying like Darryl McDaniels. Like if you go back, a little bit, it's amazing that he'll be at our conference. He's the co-founder of the Felix organization, a camp for kids in foster care. We have Susan McCormick, that's going to be the president and CEO of YMCA USA. You got Clint Smith, if you ever read that book, How the Word is Passed, New York Times bestselling author, Rahima Ellis, national education reporter, as well as Dr. David Schuler will be joining us as well. So go to our website if you haven't registered already, summerlearning.org. Registration is live as we speak. And we started a new tradition of bringing our conference members to a museum here in Washington, D.C. Last year, we were at Planet Word Museum, Brother Freeman's place. But this year, we've rented out the entire National Museum of African American History and Culture. And so there will be all kinds of NSLA, National Summer Learning type activity happening in that great museum as well. So hopefully you can come and join us. Fabulous. Fantastic. And so my name is Broderick Clark, Vice President of Programs and Systems Quality. I'm joined by an incredible panel. We have Travis Allen, CEO and co-founder of ProSolve. We have Amy Ike, Executive Director of Community Education and Partnerships, Rochester Public Schools. We have Brian Galvin, Chief Academic Officer of Varsity Tutors. We have Captain Barrington in the house, founder and CEO of Flying Classrooms. And we have Jackie Smalls, once again in the space, Vice President of Social Impact at Discovery Education. We'll also have a special segment with Caitlin Akamoto, Director and Coach Mentor Training, U.S. Soccer Foundation. And so, let's kind of dive right in here. So,
Brian, yeah.
Fantastic. So I'd like to welcome Brian Galvin, Chief Academic Officer of Varsity Tutors, to join us. Brian, it's good to see you.
Likewise. Thanks, Roger.
Absolutely. I'm happy that you're in the space, and I'm glad to be together with you again. And so, this summer, I know we had a robust conversation. We continue to have robust conversations about summer and summer learning and that kind of thing. As we think about summer, how do we make summertime different, this unique space? And how do we leverage and use that time perhaps differently?
Yeah, I love both parts of that question, actually. So I think one is just establishing, which everyone that's here is doing, that summer is not just a great opportunity to be different, it's kind of a mandate to be different. I mean, just sort of baseline Maslow's hierarchy of needs. By that point in the year, students need a change of pace, educators need a change of pace. But I take it a level deeper and say, it's really difficult as a student to be a different student in April than you were in February in that 2-month span, right? You eat lunch with the same kids, you're in the same classroom, probably the same seating chart. Whereas over the summer, kids come back, they've had a growth spurt, they have different clothes, hairstyle. It's pretty normal to be a totally different student, learner, classroom participant. You have different mix of kids, they've had all kinds of experiences. And so summer really needs to be different. If we want kids to think about learning differently, if we want them to go from, being a kid who was, reticent to raise their hand and ask questions or answer questions, or didn't think that it was cool to be, a smart kid or an active participant, we have that opportunity to really transform them. So I think step one is be really intentional and know that summer may be the only time that we can make that quantum leap in how students see education and are able to really accelerate into the new school year. To get tactical with that, I'd say we really kind of look at it in a couple ways. You can look at what just is necessarily different about summer, kind of logistically and those kind of things, what should be different about summer, and then what is different affords you the opportunity to do. That's why I love when you mentioned the word leverage there. So what is different? time and space are very different. So if you kind of look at your program and say, okay, I have a lot more space to get kids up and move around because there are more classrooms available or more space, or we can get outside, or we're not in a traditional classroom, that can be something. The amount of time that you have to be able to spend on a given topic or activity is probably different in the summer. So let's look at some of those logistical factors, take inventory of what do I have the opportunity to do differently. Then you can look at what should be different. What do you think is missing from the routine that just doesn't quite fit into the construct? If it's things like more hands-on activities, more personal attention, more opportunity to get up and move around, you can kind of look at, okay, how do I take what opportunities I have with the things that I know tend to be missing from the population that I'm working with. But then the last one, I think maybe the most important one, this is where I love you guys had the research session yesterday. I think one of the great benefits that NSLA has for everyone is all the research archive out there. And the research all shows that the outcomes you get from summer, if they're going to be lasting, they're a function of attendance, repetition, time on task, and intentional teaching what you want that to be. So if you look at different in some ways as kind of the drizzled cheese on the broccoli, or as my 2-year-old's doing these days, rainbow sprinkles on broccoli, different kind of affords you that opportunity. Hey, they're paying attention. They will attend because it's not necessarily mandatory. They will focus because I've got their attention. You also want to think about, what are the outcomes I'm trying to drive? Is it, reading and literacy? Is it math? Is it SEL? What are the things we're trying to do, and make sure those fit? Different enough, different is necessary, but not sufficient. Different alone is not enough. It's that really earns you the opportunity to drive the outcomes that you want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate that so much, and really helping to set the stage and frame us for today. And as a visual learner myself, thank you for the visuals on the ice cream and the sprinkles. Like, I'm going to get an ice cream after this, without a doubt.
Rainbow sprinkles have been magic in my household for vegetables and everything else. So
totally fantastic. So now it sounds like it would be a good time for us to bring our panel up and have them join us. I would love for each of the panel members here to introduce themselves and let us know who you are, perhaps where you are. That would be awesome. And so I'll go ahead and start with Travis.
Absolutely. Really glad to be here, Broderick. My name is Travis Allen. I am the founder of ProSolve. I'm located here in Utah, but our organization is all over the country. I think we represent 12 plus different states. ProSolve is learning experienced, which I think says it all. We're here to explore, play, connect, lead, and create. And what better place to do that than summer right here? So very glad to be here. Excited to be part of this.
Awesome. Thank you, brother, for being here without question. And then next up, with both feet on the ground, not 36,000 feet up in the air, somewhere around the world, my brother, Captain Barrington. It's good to see you, man.
Great to see you. Happy to be here. Hello, everyone. My name is Captain Barrington Irving. I'm founder of the Flying Classroom. And basically what we do is we travel around the world to practically explore the things kids have to learn, but to bring it to life. And yes, a lot of what we do can be quite dangerous, or in some cases gross, but that's what kids love. And we get a chance to connect these expeditions back to the classroom and focus on how can you bring this particular standard to life, whether it's in literacy or math or science. And we've done over 75 expeditions now. We're based in Miami, Florida. And because of aviation, it just allows us to connect a lot differently with the schools that we work with flying into communities. So I'm very excited, and should be blue skies today.
No doubt, brother. It's an honor and a privilege to have you here. Thanks for being here. We also have Amy in the house from one of my favorite cities, Rochester Public Schools. Please introduce
Thank you, Broderick. I'm Amy Ike. I'm the Director of Community Education for our school district. So I'm one of your practitioners today that's going to talk a little bit about how we do it on the ground here.
Totally. Some real talk today. So thank you, Amy, for being here in the space. And last but certainly not least, my colleague here, Jackie Smalls. who I've been learning about. I understand we got a little bit of shared work history there too, Center for Inspired Teaching. So I spent 4 years with Aletta and Kate. So I was wonderful to learn. But Jackie, let us know who you are and introduce yourself to these great folks.
I'm so happy to be here. I will tell you that I just came from speaking with 100 or so 7th and 8th grade young women who are excited about STEM. So I'm a little excited too, but I'll tone it down just a little bit. But I'm happy to be here representing Discovery Education, and in particular, 2 coalitions that I have the opportunity to lead. And that's a coalition of industry partners focused on STEM education. So I'll be talking about the resources that we have that are free and accessible to any student, as well as our social-emotional learning coalition, which is focused on how can we support not only students, but teachers and their needs in terms of the supports they need that they're challenged with in meeting the needs of students and what we have to encounter in today's classrooms, in the classrooms and outside of the classroom. So I'm happy to be here with you and talk about some resources that we have.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you to the whole panel for being live and direct and present and ready to rock and roll. And we're not going to turn it down. We're going to turn it up without question. And I think about the summertime. Summertime is like fun. Like it's like where the magic happens. That's that space where, you know, all kinds of education goes on, but you probably finished the whole day, not even realize that you just went through 17 literacy standards and 28 math standards. You know, you just have crafty, skilled professionals that know how to do that, know how to put the secret sauce together to make sure young people have access to those experiences. And so just as to all of our content providers here, right? So you can just take a couple of minutes to tell me a little bit about your approach and how do you make learning fun, engaging, but also relevant to young people's lives. I kind of just, Captain Barrington, how about you rock out with that one? How we get these airplanes and flying relevant in the lives and minds of our young folks?
Sure. You know, when I think about learning, it really boils down to the experience. I look at what we do for kids as if we're putting together a production, right? Students, yes, the journey is important, no question, it's important. But what kids really care about is the destination, right? We first have to understand, before we can teach someone, we need to sell them on what they're about to learn. And at Flying Classroom, you know, we're very big on that. And to, you know, as it relates to summer, students want a production. They want a dynamic experience. They want hidden gems to be able to explore, you know, have a certain level of authenticity, but also being able to activate their senses simultaneously through different experiences of what they're doing, whether that's being accomplished through hands-on activities and so forth. But I think sometimes we forget the very first thing we actually need to do is to sell them. And part of what we do at Flying Classroom is to sell them on a powerful story. So instead of saying, hey, we want you to explore DNA, or we want you to explore the nervous system, or what if I sold you on a story that we traveled to a place called Palau to hunt down sea snakes and show how you can alter their venom and DNA to fight against heart attacks and heart disease, and then combine that with something hands-on and explorative for them to do. And that drives the foundation for how we do things at Flying Classroom. And it's really worked. And it's worked at all different grade levels. The powerful story and combined with a powerful experience.
Thank you, brother. I can imagine what that experience could be like. Actually, looking for a seat for myself. If you got a spare seat in that, I like to experience
absolutely.
That. No question. So again, you know, what does that look like, feel like, and sound like to create these spaces that are fun, engaging, relevant to young people in the summer? Jackie?
Yeah, I was going to add to that because I'm so agree with what you were saying. We have to sell them on it. And the way that we do that too is connecting not only that content. So, you know, students are learning about math, they're learning about science, engineering, and, you know, reading and ELA. But then like my 13-year, well, he's 16 now. Why would I say 13? My 16-year-old says to me, why am I learning this? How does this actually apply to what I really want to do, Mom? And so we hope to provide students with the opportunity, and I'll make sure that I also provide the link for you. Oh, someone did that for me. And that you can actually see a career that's connected to the very same thing that you're thinking about. So we have a wealth of profiles, career profiles of our industry partners and actual real employees that are speaking to, oh, if you like collaborating with folks, if you like to use your science and math skills, then how about if you consider becoming a structural engineer? And sometimes that blows the student's mind because they're saying, a structural engineer, what does that person do? And they see that they're actually the person that helps think about how to build an airplane. And they're saying, oh, I don't have to be the one that actually builds the airplane, but the one that thinks about the safety of an airplane, how all the things connect and bringing folks together. And so we're just hoping that we inspire students. But the other thing I want to make sure that we also think about in connecting the students with the learning is allowing them to see themselves. So we were very deliberate about providing a diverse group of career profiles, but also who's representing those career profiles. So they can say that I see my reflection, you know, I see the mirror, I see myself, I see the window of opportunity. And one thing that I like to say is that there's sliding doors. Where's all this come together? Where does diversity actually add to the possibilities that I'm thinking about? And how critical it is to have that diversity. So we're trying to address many things in many different ways, but the takeaway for me is that students have to see themselves in this learning.
Thank you. The children have to see themselves in this learning. And thank you also for reminding us and busting through some myths here. Like young people want to see the end, they want to see the destination. You know, that's already blasting through some myths that as you talk to people about young people and how they flow and how they vibe and their ambitions and things like that. So thank you for lifting that up. How about Travis? This idea.
Yeah, you know, happy to jump in here. I love this question about making learning engaging, relevant to young people. And that's why we exist, ProSolve Learning Experience. You know, you talked about our approach and how we do it. So just to share with you a little bit about my story, I started this organization when I was a high school student over 13 years ago now at this point. And I created it because I was disengaged with what the learning experience looked like in the school day. And what I love about summer and what we get to do in summer is that we don't have the same limitations that stifle innovation and new approaches that we experience in the school day. And so when we came to the education industry, we knew summer and after school was the place to be to truly create engaging and meaningful ways to connect with students. And so a little bit about our approach. We've been in, you know, over 43 states, 12 countries sharing our message. Our solutions are in over 1,000 plus classrooms across the country. But the main thing, our approach is Quest, which is what you see behind me. And Quest has this tagline of play, connect, create, which is what I think we build around when it comes to how do we create engaging content for our kids this summer. So in our world of Quest, we have created a game that simulates the real world, putting them into small teams, giving them difficult challenges to solve, and having to work together throughout that all. And you can actually see the experience behind me. We built it like a TV show. So every year we launch a new season. And we have over 2 hours of animated videos to immerse kids in storytelling. And in season 1, kids wake up in a post-apocalyptic world where all the adults have vanished, leaving a world of chaos where kids have to rise up and become problem solvers. On day 1 this summer, when they get to play the experience, they have to form their teams, pick their government. Are they a dictatorship? Are they democracy? How are they going to make choices? They're faced with moral and ethical decisions. Do I steal food from my neighboring team or do I give them food? And the reason we built this, if we're going to, you know, it goes to that word play. Play is the ultimate form of hands-on and growing and experiencing and being engaged in the learning. And so we build our experience off of board games, video games, and escape rooms all coming together to immerse kids in this world. And think about this for an escape room. Talk about how we engage kids. If you go in an escape room and you don't know what you're doing, you find a lockbox, you try to open it, you fail, fail, fail. But finally, things pop together, you click it open, you're euphoric in that moment that lockbox opens. But instead, if I went up to a whiteboard and I said, here are the 3 steps to how to open that box, how do you feel? I accomplished a series of tasks. And so this is how we create authentic, relevant learning experiences. We give them difficult problems. We allow them to play in order to discover how to work and collaborate and deal with tough moral and ethical decisions. And the last thing I'll say is the connect and create part, just briefly. And I'll start with one of the quotes from one of our teachers. You know, she said, "My students love it when it's Quest Day. The level of communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity are elevated when we play Quest. Students are so invested in the game, it becomes the center of conversation among students at recess and lunch." That's the key. We're creating something, we're speaking their language, we're creating something that is so enthralling that it becomes the center of topic when they're not dedicated to the learning time. And that connect piece is so key, because play without intention doesn't accomplish the learning. So through connect, students are then given lessons and ways of improving their gameplay. But what it's really doing is teaching them, using the CASTLE framework, key social and emotional things that they're going to learn. And finally, we get to create, where students then get to design and create their own game, their own episode through ELA Standard Common Core. But the point is, it is learning with purpose. It is learning speaking their language. They get to design their own puzzles, storyline, challenges, and different elements of that in order to engage in the authentic learning process. So that is our approach and some of the things we see as pivotal to engaging students this summer.
Without question, Travis, thank you for that. And thank you for reminding us to be authentic too. That's a word that I saw as a thread throughout. And so, Brian, what say you, brother, when it comes to this idea of authenticity, and like, how do you make sure that these things are relevant, interesting, creative, fun? Like, how do you make that happen, Brian?
Well, my first question is, how do you make that happen for middle-aged people? I'm like looking at all these programs thinking like, what am I doing this summer? So I'll email all of you and see maybe there's an extension out there to get all of us involved. I love the idea that I think everyone has mentioned. We hear that, you know, the term scaffolding we're all familiar with in education, but nobody's climbing a ladder unless they know what's at the top. Where are they trying to get toward? And so this idea of show people the finish line and then give them the vested interest in building the skills to get there, I think is so important. And I love everybody saying that. At Varsity Tutors, we're the largest live learning platform in the country. And what that gives us is this, you know, really neat benefit of scale, where we consider ourselves kind of the missing puzzle piece for all the partners that we work with out there. And so we have a celebrity layer because the scale kind of affords you that. I was on a call just the other day with an astronaut. We were building out his summer programming, you know, with things like, how do you teach kids about measurement? Well, you know, you can measure with a ruler, you can measure with a scale, but where he's going when he's been at the International Space Station a few times, you can't stretch a tape measure that far. And so getting kids to think about how you may have to use math and ratios and, you know, triangles to be able to come up with things. So we do a lot of that, try to, you know, use, we're teaming up with Monopoly again this summer to do some financial literacy type things with gamification, where kids can actually play with different financial literacy type tools and things like that. And those kind of things are available to all of our partners that do summer learning type things for us. We have a coding platform where kids can build their own video games, and kind of somewhat similar to what Travis was talking about, but you can create your own, but then learn valuable coding principles along the way. And again, any of our summer learning partners, the students in their programs have access to do these things in self-guided ways, to be able to join, you know, any kinds of classes that are available along all those kind of things as well. But the other one I want to come back to, that word relevant, is we also have the ability, because we operate at such scale, to be able to inject, you know, one-on-one or small group tutoring type sessions into any summer program that's out there. It's hard if you've got an hour for, you know, specific time on task on the skills you want students to learn, to get enough people in the building to be able to make those lessons really relevant to everyone, where they're learning the exact skills that they need to work on at the pace they need to learn it. And so kind of our bread and butter is being able to operate tutoring at scale. If you have, you know, however many hours per week in whatever doses it's available to help kids either pick up skills that they're a little bit behind on to thrive in the program, to give everyone personalized education. You know, we're big believers that if you're asking students to do more, which summer learning is some of that, 90 to 100% of that time has to be directly relevant to them. If they're sitting in a classroom and things are above their head, or they're a little, they've heard it before, they're it's a little bit below their level, that's not value added time for them. And so personalized learning makes things relevant to folks, and so that's kind of our key offering. And then anyone who works with us in the summer has access to all the fun things as well.
Fantastic. Let me just pause for a second and just have a moment of gratitude. Can we just embrace like the kind of brilliance we have on this call today? We have 4 outstanding content providers here. But I'd like to switch over to Amy for a bit, right? You're working in a school district. Like, we love school districts. We want to partner with school districts. We want to connect with school districts. School districts are this, a revenue generator for some, right? So, and if you've ever been to an education conference, like you go into the exhibit hall, there's like a billion curriculum options, right? And so how do you, Amy, in your seat, make sense of all that and build a menu of quality options for the young people in your school district? And perhaps maybe some of the criteria that you use to select, like how would you select from these 4? Or you just invite these 4 to come to Rochester?
I'd love all 4 of you to come to Rochester. Very impressive. A little background on Rochester itself. We're a kind of a mid-sized district. We have 18,000 students. About 50% of our families are Indigenous and people of color. We have all parts of the wealth spectrum, from those who are doctors at Mayo Clinic, for example, all the way to a very large service providing population. We've got some schools in the district that are 75% under-resourced families and others that are closer to 15. So you can imagine there's a lot of variety. And the kids we serve in summer are typically the kids who need some extra time with their peers, with their teachers, with experiences to level the playing field, to build background knowledge, things like that. So when we started to redesign summer back in 2020, we pulled together about 50 people on a task force. And we said, if summer's going to look different, what does it need to be? And we came up with, that task force came up with 4 essential learning areas. So we always go back to that if we need to select providers. And the 4 areas are academics, experiences, which I've heard you all talk about, relational skills among people, and then wellness in all of its aspects. So those 4 essential learning areas are what guide our content and our experiences for kids. Then we figured out, what do we need to change to get there? So we started paying our teachers more professional development time and embedded mental health staff, things like that. We came up with a continuous improvement process. So every year we try to get better at this. And one of the areas for continuous improvement was to increase the partnerships. And that's, I think, where these wonderful providers come in, because there are things that we simply can't do on a local level with the resources we have or the time we have to put toward it. So some of these amazing providers come into that. When I think about how we make decisions about which providers we partner with, one is, the very first is, what do the students need? But also I heard Brian mention, what do the staff need? And Jackie, I think you mentioned that too, the needs of the teachers. We know that the whole profession of teaching is a bit under the gun right now. And so we think about what would be an inspiring effort for teachers, but also not a huge lift, so that they're trying to do that at the same time they're teaching all spring. So then we think about, does it make sense for us to do whatever this is in-house or not? That's a big pro-con discussion among the team. Can we do this in-house? Do we have the capacity? Do we have the energy level among our staff to do it? Do we have the expertise? So Captain Barrington, your expertise, we would not necessarily have within our staff. And so we look at that too. And then we say, if it's not going to be in-house, is there existing partnership that we can expand, or do we need to find a new partner? So those are some of the initial questions we ask. And then, of course, we get down to cost because there are limited resources. So we say, is the benefit for the students and staff going to match the cost investment? Are we getting what we're paying for essentially? And then is there a win beyond financial for the partner? We really want our partnerships to be win-win. So what's the benefit back to the partner so that both we and the partner are equally motivated to provide the students with a good experience? So I'll maybe stop there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that with us without question. And, and as I look and gaze at our participant list, and there are literally hundreds of folks that are in the room right now. And so we really want to leverage this opportunity while we have such great content folks on the line to just kind of pick your brain a little bit for some advice. So we know that everybody's been planning since last September, right? Summertime starts in September. We don't wait till the last minute. We don't wait till March and April to start thinking about summer. We've already put the flag in the sand, so to speak, with planning. But right now it's March. We're at the end of March. Many programs are trying to figure out, what content they want to have. Hopefully, as you mentioned, Amy, that they're making those decisions grounded in the needs of young people. So thanks for reminding us that we all do this to meet young people's needs and not forgetting about ourselves in the process. Adults also have needs. So we appreciate that. What advice do you have to make sure that there's a solid program in place with strong content providers? And Travis, how about I start with you?
Sure. I definitely could talk about this a long time, so I'll keep it short and brief and try to give some tangible
240
thoughts.
characters, 240 characters or less.
Yeah. We have found it to be essential that we are a turnkey content partner ourselves. We cannot just sell you a product and walk away. Summer programs are usually understaffed and overworked, and if something can go wrong, it probably will during summer most often. So you want to look for partners who are dedicated to achieving the final outcome with you and not looking to sell you a product. For us, what we're selling is not a product or a lesson plan. We are selling extremely highly engaging programs that are going to have high retention of students coming in from day one to the last day. We're focused on helping you increase attendance from prior summer by kids. We want to also have that end outcome of the impact on learning and how the summer is going to transfer to the school day to ensure a smooth deployment beginning to end. And so that's what we really look for and what we focus on providing as a partner, and what we would encourage districts and providers to provide is how do we have that holistic approach because summer staffing needs all the support we can get, and how do we provide really highly quality professional development to engage our teachers and get them excited about doing this summer so they want to be engaged with it as well.
Thank you so much for that advice, without question. Improper planning certainly produces poor performance, no question. And so, Jackie, any advice you have for the provider community with respect to coming to the table with a strong plan to make sure that there's strong content at the point of service where it matters the most?
Yes, but I'm going to take a little slant on that, because one of the things I think is important, and we all kind of touched on this, and that is, how do you make sure community is established among students? So we can talk about content and what they're learning, but I think we have to think about how kids are making sure we're building a safe, collaborative, inclusive community, because we know that a learning can take place, but potential and more learning can take place. Interactive and engagement can take place if we know that students feel like their voice is leveraged in through what they're learning. So let's think about, how do we amplify student voices? How do we make time to talk about, how do we collaborate with each other? How do we make sure we address conflict? How do we, if we have a conflict, how do we as a group think about that conflict, and how can we problem solve to move on from that conflict? Because in summertime, we know we're active, we're moving, and we can make sure that that's still a safe, collaborative environment. So I am speaking to all the things that surround the learning around social, emotional learning and well-being. And so we have those resources, thinking about managing stress, thinking about managing conflict, and all of those things that we have to consider outside of those core content areas. And again, like I said, all of our resources, we have a daily learning platform in Discovery Education. We reach 45 million students, but the resources that I'm providing here are free and accessible to everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for reminding us about the importance of building community in the context of all that we do. I appreciate that without question. Captain, same deal. Maybe sprinkle some of that building community in there too, as Jackie reminded us. But any advice that you have for programmers out there when they're trying to decide what to bring to their young people?
Oh, absolutely. Jackie and Travis brought up some excellent points, and I'll first start from the infrastructure standpoint. The two biggest things for us is, whoever we work with in the summer, especially if, time is winding down, you have to have a realistic and honest conversation, right? And that realistic and honest conversation really determines how successful a program can be. Without playing a guessing game of, okay, will you have instructors, or do you need us to provide the instructors, which we provide through Flying Classroom, or even certain capabilities? How are the students grouped? How will they rotate around? The realistic conversations of, hey, do you even have anyone that could make you a flyer? Or do you need our team to make a flyer? Do I need to stand in front of my plane and film a promotional video that says, hey, such and such school district, we look forward to hosting you this year? So being realistic and honest within a short period of time really helps to determine that. And as it relates to the community standpoint, I really love that Jackie brought that to light, because we like to do fly-ins, right? Where we fly in and get to know community, host students at the airport, filled with a whole bunch of different hands-on experiences. But we also do virtual family nights where parents are asking me about some of the different expeditions we do and the career fields that's associated with it. So there's quite a bit that goes into it, but it starts with, being realistic, honest, and then looking at ways in which to engage families. And you might be in a situation where it's a struggle to attract those within your community. Well, April, May, June, those are great opportunities to strategically have outreach sessions and also involve the instructors and teachers and families in the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that context. I know I have about 2 minutes left in this segment, but I certainly want to give Brian and Amy's thoughts as well. So Brian?
Awesome. Well, I'm going to summarize a little. There's so many great things going on. I'll summarize a little bit of what Amy said. I really liked in that kind of planning process. And basically the way we kind of look at it is, you want to lay out what's going to be different about your program, and what are your goals and learning objectives you're looking to drive forward, and then assess what's missing. And so if you kind of look at, hey, we have a lot of creativity in the educators that we have on board to do this. They have lots of great activities and things they want to do, but what we really need is a way to connect that to specific learning outcomes that we want to move the needle on for the school year. Then you're looking for a content provider that can maybe do something like we do and inject tutoring into your daily flow and that kind of a thing. On the other hand, it's going to be April, tomorrow, day after. Teachers are under a lot of stress. They may have all the creativity in the world if they had time, but you may be getting toward the summer and realizing, like, hey, we actually need a little bit of rainbow sprinkles to get kids to attend and kind of earn that curiosity, attendance, repetition, and all those kind of things. And so that's what you want to bring in. So I think a lot of it comes down to, particularly at this stage of the game, identifying, do you know what's going to be different and earn you that attendance, curiosity, buy-in, and participation? Do you know what your learning objectives are? And then kind of look for, what are the missing puzzle pieces? And one of the things we love being able to do at Varsity Tutors is, whatever those missing puzzle pieces are, we feel we're in a great position to be able to help supply that, whether it's, the engaging curriculum with astronauts and Monopoly, all those kind of things, whether it's time on task with tutoring and educational outcomes. Find your missing puzzle pieces, and that's what you should be looking for, particularly at this stage in a content partner.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Brian. Find your missing puzzle pieces, no doubt. Amy, final word? Any advice? you on mute.
Wrote down a
There
few
you
tips. You'd think after 3 years, we would know how to do that.
go. No worries.
Of course, start early, start early, start early. You know, we're trying to back up earlier every year, and there never seems to be enough time to do that planning to the depth we would like to do it. I would say to when you're analyzing these different offerings that are available, get help. Don't let it be the job of one person to try and take in all these different amazing opportunities. Get the students involved. We like student-led, student-informed decision-making. And so the more we can get the kids involved in that decision-making, the better. So it's not the adults writing the check and then finding out if the kids like it later.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, each and every one of you. Thank you, Travis, Jackie, Captain Barrington, Brian, Amy, everybody that's on the line, putting all that goodness in the chat box. Can we give a loud, virtual, round of applause to this dynamic panel? Thank you so much for being with us, sharing your knowledge, skill, and competencies with us. We appreciate you very much. I'm going to make a transition as you're getting all of that virtual love there in the chat box to speak with Caitlin. So I'd love for Caitlin to join us. And I know my daughter would be super excited. I'm talking to you, Caitlin. She played Division I soccer at Cleveland State University and then transferred to Georgia State. She's a big soccer phenom, goalie, so you know what that's all about. And so I'm happy to just be chatting with you today, without question.
Yeah, thanks, sir. Thanks for having me, Broderick, and just such an honor and wonderful to be amongst all of you here discussing what we can do for young people in this summer learning time. So thanks so much.
Absolutely. And so, as much as we spent time talking about content, and, you definitely have to have great content and, of course, strong adult support in out of school time. Summer learning is about building those relationships, right? To help young people feel connected, like belonging, right? And supported in their learning. And so we're super happy to have you here to share some thoughts with us. You recently launched a coach and mentor training that builds on participants' capacity to create lasting and positive connections with youth and teachers, that teaches them how to strengthen their social and emotional skills. So if you could tell us more about how it might be used by coaches and other adults who work with youth.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you out there who might be thinking, oh, I'm not a soccer person, or I don't do program for soccer, I would say, wait, hold on a second. We're actually about to talk about a program and opportunity that focuses on relationship building, regardless of sport or activity, and is really designed intentionally to be for staff, coaches, those adult leaders who work across sports and out of school programs. So thank you so much. My brain is spinning from all the amazing program partners who just presented and their different approaches to learning. And I want to sort of pick up on those threads and likely preaching to the choir here, in that we really believe strongly at the U.S. Soccer Foundation that relationship building is at the core of working with young people. And that's regardless of the activity, the setting, the sport. And, Brian said something at the beginning of this segment that was summer offers this opportunity to do something different. And what does different afford you the opportunity to do? And for us, it's really narrowing in on providing our adult leaders, those camp counselors, those coaches, those staff, the opportunity to invite the whole young person in to be their full self. So they enjoy the activity, they have fun, they want to come back, they want to engage in other trusting relationships with adults in the future. And so because of this, we have a new resource called the Coach Mentor Blueprint training. And this is a result of our 25 years of working in the out of school time space, particularly in the soccer world. We've had the charge of looking to spread the game and provide opportunities to play the game across all reaches of the US. We work particularly with underserved communities and under-resourced communities And through our programming with partners on the ground in different local communities, particularly through our program called Soccer for Success, we've learned that one of our I would say our special sauce is the way in which we think about and train coaches. We've been very intentional about connecting the role of the coach and the role of the mentor together, excuse me, for any adult leader who's a part of our program. And so we call all our coaches coach mentors, and they all receive training that amplifies their role as the trusting adult and their responsibility to be available and able to develop trusting relationships with youth in their programming and working with young people. And so what we have and what we're seeing dropped in the chat here is an opportunity to provide this training for folks working across the spectrum of recreational activities and sport. And we offer this training, which I'll share a little bit more in terms of content, in two forms. We offer an in-person version, which is a highly interactive classroom-based version that's 2 hours, and we go and we partner with a local community and we tailor that training to your staff and your opportunity for young people. And then we also offer it virtually in a 1 hour asynchronous training online. This is intentionally free. We want it to be equitable to allow individuals who are working across the country access to this. We've done this in partnership with Inspire with National University, who's a leading educator in the K through 12 space. And so the online version is also embedded with many, many additional resources in terms of SEL learning competencies and skills. And so what the blueprint is a framework for a coach or a staff member to think about how they prepare for and build trusting relationships across a season or across a camp, whatever that duration might be. And we use the analogy of building a house, right? And we know that when we build a house, there are certain steps that have to take place in a certain order, right, for that house to be built and withstand the test of time. And we always start with the foundation. We know a foundation has to come first, has to be strong, has to be well built. And we also have to tend to it, even as we build the other parts of the house or we live in that house over the years. And so we also start with the foundation. We ask coaches and staff to think about what are the things they need to research, to think about, to self-reflect on, so that they're really prepared to build a strong framework for when they first meet that young person or their family and they invite that relationship at the beginning of a season or a camp. We then step into the next aspect. So how do you initiate that relationship? How do you make it stronger throughout the duration of time with the young person? How do you sustain that relationship? And also through that process, right, where you've built some trust, uphold the skills that the young people are building, right, and help them think about how those skills can move into other parts of their life. And then ultimately close out that time you have with the young person as camp comes to the end or the season comes to an end, so that those young people want to come back, they want to engage in those activities in the future, they want to engage in other trusting adult relationships with other mentors, right, in other parts of their life. And so that is the bulk of the training. We are currently working with a number of partners who are preparing for summer camp. So we're going to deliver this as part of their onboarding and staff training. Other programs that are maybe sports specific or looking to prepare for their summer seasons. And so just to encourage you to reach out if you have questions or thoughts. We're happy to connect on anything in this space and really also learn from each of you, right, on what you're doing in your particular environment to serve your young people.
Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you so much for that. I see my producers are reminding us so that we can stay on task here in time. So I appreciate that. But I don't want to let you go without, I can imagine that there's probably out of the hundreds of people that are on the call now, some folks that are charged with providing professional development for staff as the summer approaches. Any quick advice that you might have for folks that are planning to do professional development? What are some of the secret sauce that we need to put in that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great question. And I'm going to pull for two things I've learned from not doing these things well in doing coach training or staff training. And I just want to emphasize again that what we're talking about here is training that's applicable for those who really see themselves as coaches, but really anyone who's a staff member who works in a recreational setting. And I think the first thing that I've come to learn is one, you know, regardless of your program, your staff, whether it's all new staff, experienced staff, a mix, I think it's really important to find a moment in your staff training to elevate and recognize the expertise that's in the room. I think when we're able to help those staff members, those coaches realize their strengths and what they really bring to the table, they're empowered to utilize those things to meet the needs and the goals of your specific program. And so finding moments to, yes, we want to equip them with the skills and the knowledge and logistics for what's about to happen in that particular camp or season, but we also want to invite them to pull through the things that they do really well. And so really elevating that, I think, sets a really nice tone for the culture of your staff group or your coaching group. I think the second thing is I would just emphasize to provide some resources and some emphasis on how to address the human element of working with young people. You know, I think the content that we've heard today and that all of you work with is phenomenal. But we know that to create that connection, those young people have to feel like that the adults in the room care, right? That they want to embrace their full person that they bring. And so finding an opportunity and upholding that training that's really focused on positive youth development or social emotional learning or how to create relationships with young people, I think is so vital for retention, not just of those young people who might come back in the future years, but also to those staff members, right? If they feel like they can build those relationships well, they're likely going to want to do that again in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Caitlin, for spending a little bit of time with us here today. Caitlin Akamoto from the U.S. Soccer Foundation. Please join me in thanking
Thank you all.
Ms. joining us. Thank you so much. Fabulous. So as we come in for a nice soft landing here, would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about another important audience that we reach out to, right? So one of the most important audiences are parents, right? We want to help them find programs that are right for their young people. And so to do this, you know, we're proud to host, as I talked about earlier, discoversummer.org. So back in 2023, it's back for 2023. It's bigger now, bigger than ever before. More and more programs are putting their information in there so that families can find them. It's a nationwide summer learning registry. It helps families of all socioeconomic backgrounds find local summer programs, meals, free summer learning resources. It's powered by InPlay. DiscoverSummer.org features over 50,000 out-of-school time programs from 4,000 cities all over the U.S. It includes accredited camps from the American Camp Association, National Recreation and Parks Association, YMCA's, Boys and Girls Clubs all across America, the Urban Libraries Council. There's a lot of good stuff in there. So just go in, type in your address, and see what pops up. We're going to continue to keep promoting discoversummer.org through our national billboard campaign with our partners at Clear Channel. So shout out to Clear Channel Outdoor to share more. And so I want to introduce to you all Vicki Chen. Vicki, I think the last time I saw you was in New York somewhere.
Yes.
I don't know. We were probably at a holiday lunch or was it like Times Square when?
No, it was a holiday lunch. Yeah, right before
okay.
Christmas.
Totally. Well, it's great to have you here and to be with you again. Vicki Chen is the manager of corporate communications and marketing at Clear Channel Outdoor. So Vicki, tell us a little bit about the campaign. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Project. And hi, everyone. It's great to be here with you all today and just listen to the amazing experts who are working hard to support youth and families. So I'm excited to be sharing what NSLA and Clear Channel are planning for this year for Discover Summer. But first, I just want to throw a personal anecdote that I was actually a part of the Summer Youth Employment Program here in New York City. And so that actually gave me the experience and skills I needed to get internships during college and eventually land a job here at Clear Channel. So these programs are really, really essential. And that's why, as one of the larger out-of-home companies in America, Clear Channel continues to be a partner with the NSLA to support the work that they do with all of you to expand summer learning opportunities for kids. And it's not just our platform, our billboards that we're leveraging here, but it's partnerships. And as Project mentioned, there's more and more programs to be featured in this website. So we want to get the word out earlier to parents that this resource exists. But first, if we turn over to the next slide, I just want to speak to some of our past campaigns, just so everyone here has a background on how our partnership with NSLA has continued to grow over the years. During 2021, A lot of communities were still struggling with the aftermath of the pandemic. And I mean, they still do today. But in particular, children, they experience academic setbacks. They were isolated from their friends, their teachers, their peers. And so NSLA wanted to bring back the fun of learning again. And that's where Nintendo came in as a partner. And this was a really great opportunity because Nintendo had a new game called the Game Builder Garage. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's like an interactive way to teach kids the basics of coding and game design. And so Nintendo was actually able to fund this billboard program, and we were able to weave that into the summer campaign in 2021. And it garnered a lot of great attention, but it also reminded the joy of learning again for our kids. And then last year, we promoted discoversummer.org again, which launched earlier in May last year, because we wanted to get the word out earlier to families so their kids could sign up for summer programs in their communities. And then without getting too specific with numbers, I just wanted to throw it out. NSLA actually saw a huge surge of traffic to the website during the duration of this campaign. And I think in particular, it surged right at the time of launch in May. So it just speaks to the power of the billboard campaign. And so with that, if we turn over to the next slide, we're excited to launch our next Discover Summer campaign this year. And we're going for an even earlier launch date. I know earlier is important, right? And so we're aiming for April 15th to launch this campaign to let families know that these programs and resources are available in their communities. And I know NSLA has worked extra hard to add more programs to the website. So it's important to get this message earlier and also encourage signups as soon as possible. In terms of placement, the campaign will run nationwide in all of our markets where we have digital billboards, digital posters, which are essentially just like half of the standard billboards you see in your neighborhoods, and then also bus shelters. And we're running this through early August. So we're really excited on our end to launch this year's campaign in just a few weeks. So definitely keep an eye out. If Clear Channel is in your city, keep an eye out. So yeah, thanks for having me, Project.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's an honor and privilege to have you here. And thank you for reminding us of the power of out of school time and summer learning, that an SYEP job can turn into a job at Clear Channel for one of our kids one day. So thank you for that and all you do to support high quality summer learning alongside us. So thank you. And so that is our time for today. And there's still hundreds of people still here in the Zoom room, which I really appreciate. And so I'm going to bring us in for a soft landing and just say thank you for your time, your energy, your passion and presence on the call. Thank you for all the information and conversation that's going on in the chat. Thank you to anybody who's listening to this as a recording, like you stopped whatever you're doing in life to listen to this and to connect to this material. We appreciate that. Thanks to all the folks that are in this Zoom room right now, currently live and direct. We appreciate you. So once again, my name is Broderick Clark, Vice President of Programs and Systems Quality with the National Summer Learning Association, bringing us in for a landing. Stay tuned. We have the second half after this intermission. And the second half is just going to be just as awesome as the first half. So we'll see you in a bit.